I'll give you a quick lore and history here of a defining moment in my life where when Freddy's Nightmares was going on, they were airing that once a week, and I grew up in Scranton, and they had this thing for children. Like it's funny, they're targeting the show for children, and it said if you write down the title of the Freddy's Nightmares weekly episode and just send it to the TV station, there's a chance you could win some prizes. And being a kid, I'm like, I'll do it. And all I do is wrote it down, wrote my name underneath it, like it's child's penmanship. And I put my mother's return address on it. And I stole one of her stamps. And about 2 weeks later, I'm playing in a yard. My mom calls me over. And she has the serious face. I'm like, what did I do? I'm thinking. And then she just opens up this box and drops all this stuff. And she's like, explain. and it's Nightmare on Elm Street 4 on VHS.
Oh, that's awesome.
The poster, birthday invitations for my next party, which had Freddy on it. And there was a couple little, millennious things in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I won. And my mom's like, what did you do? So I explained it to her, but she doesn't really understand what I'm talking about. But I'm kind of like 11-ish. And she's just like, and I'm like, she's not going to let me have the video. She's not going to let me. She's just like, shoves it all back in the box. She's like, okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to let me watch this. So I've always had a big thing for Part 4. I think it's like three. Everybody's like a 3 part, but I think 3 and 4 complement each other great. And the effects you guys had, I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I just thought the production value for 3 and 4 were just amazing. And then
absolutely.
And then 5 had that kind of a drop off a little bit, But dude, that's just amazing. That I got you here with all that. So I have to say thank you because you helped make that happen. And it was one of those things where by then I didn't call Freddy Krueger at all scary. Who did? He was kind of an awesome guy. You were rooting for him by then. The first one was like oh damn, I thought but that's when Freddy was like the ass kicking fun machine that you liked. And I love the cast with 3 and 4. I thought that's what I always said, like if the killer doesn't have someone you're rooting for, it could backfire on them, because I think a lot of horror movies these days, it's just like you don't even care about the characters. You're just looking for the kills.
Right.
And Nightmare on Elm Street 4, like I was stunned when Kincaid and Joey died like that fast. I was just like, after all that, wow, they're gone. I'm like, oh no. And then Christian goes next. It's like, wow. But to be replaced by a strong character like Alice too, I was like, wow, I'm okay with this. I like Dan and Alice,
Yeah, her arc is great. Her character arc is great in the movie. By
far. But I know like that director also went on to and then you go on to like Die Hard and everything. Like he did a lot of Yeah. So, they always say sometimes when you're directing horror movies, like you could be you could be flagged and be like typecast and, but that dude did such a good job and you helped make that happen, man. So, I mean, that's
one of the things that's kind of cool about it is like I worked with Mick Strawn, who is the production designer on 3 and 4. Technically, 3 is the better film structurally, technically.
Yeah.
But 4 was the MTV Freddy. 4 was the MTV generation where, I
thought the production value was even higher for the 4th.
Yeah. It was rock and roll Freddy. I mean, it was definitely the peak, in my opinion.
And I believe it was crazy because I think it was that and Friday the 13th Part 7 where it came out like around the same time. And I think to this day, you might be able to tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Part 4 of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th Part 7 made the most money. Of all of them. Yeah.
I believe that's very true.
Yeah.
Today is also Robert's birthday, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that.
I did not know that, but we'll say
happy birthday, Robert.
Robert Englund. Yes. We just saw in Stranger Things.
Yeah, that was actually really cool.
Yeah, it was. It was cool to, it's unfortunate what his character had to do for nothing. If you really, it's not really his fault, but but yeah, it was cool. And who doesn't love Robert Englund? But
Well,
how was so take us through that. So what's it like? It's Nightmare on Elm Street 4. You're in Freddy Mania. You get called to that. What's the set like?
that was a big deal for me. I actually really hadn't, obviously, as you said, Nightmare was already a franchise that was very established. And for me to get a call to come work on it was pretty exciting for me. I was a big fan.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really fun to go there. It was a really, really great set. Really, really a lot of hard work. The other thing that I'm not sure a lot of people know about Nightmare 4 is there was a writer strike during the filming of that. And that writer strike caused a lot of issues with rewrites. So believe it or not, the cast rewrote a lot of their own dialogue. And
Oh, I did
so
not.
a lot of that was done by them. And even little technical things like in the diner where you see Freddy's shadow of his hand on the wall in the
Yes.
diner. That was actually, believe it or not, Lisa Wilcox was playing around in between shooting, playing around with the silverware, and wound up casting a shadow from the light on the wall from the silverware, going, "Oh my God, that looks like Freddy's hand." So she's like, "We have to do this." So that was all her. Yeah, that was all her.
I totally love it. So you were obviously a part of the, Evil Sees himself and It Shall Die, that whole tunnel with all the bodies hanging out and everything. Was that you helped construct?
No, that wasn't me. I
No.
worked on Freddy's death, which is the end that Steve Johnson was in charge
Okay,
of.
with all the hands.
Yeah, and then also worked for Screaming Mad George and Brooks' cockroach transformation.
Ooh, yes, which is obviously unpleasant for a lot of people who don't like bugs. That's
Right.
probably the kill everyone still talks about. Yeah. So, I mean, how do you even start with that? I mean, how long is that even to be between shooting to getting it to the computers to take over? I mean, how long does that take?
Well, in those days there weren't computers; it was just editing celluloid and doing the stuff all practically. So,
wow. Lot of days burned. I mean, back then, especially, like how many days was that shoot in full of Nightmare on Elm Street? About 2 months, maybe, with all those.
I don't remember because like I spent most of my time in the shops helping build the stuff, and then we'd go to set and shoot it. And I don't remember the shooting part of it. I don't remember taking more than a couple weeks at a time for each one. But I know that the shoot in its entirety was, I don't know, 3 or 4 months long, I think. I want to say.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and the breaking of of her arms and everything into the roach. I mean, man, that's a lot. That's a lot of work prepping for that, right?
Yeah, it really was. And I got to say, like, I say this on almost all of these because everybody always winds up asking anyway, is, putting an actor through that is a lot for someone to sit through and have to deal with. But Brooke, I still am in awe of her because she had to be put into so much makeup and goop and shit, like take after take. And we had multiple of those arms that break. We had multiples of those things, and we did multiple takes of those things. And she had no issue with getting right back in the makeup and doing it again and getting right back in the muck. She was a fireball, man. She had no issues.